Mike Huckabee has written a very heartwarming book of holiday memories. It's his own, and I read it last night. It's charming. It's called A Simple Christmas. So it's a sweet, sweet book. However, unlike the Christmas spirit, things have gotten complicated for Governor Huckabee because people wondered if a decision that he made years ago as the Arkansas governor has come back to haunt him. We're going to be talking about this. Welcome, Governor. We're happy to have you, and you know what I'm talking about.
Thank you.
Let me give some of the facts. Tuesday morning, the Seattle police found and killed a man named Maurice Clemens, who had been let out on parole. He was originally charged with 108 years, was it? When he was 16 years old, right, for armed robbery, not for murder. Okay.
It was actually not armed robbery. It was burglary and robbery. And those were the primary crimes, and he received a 108-year sentence.
Okay, but 9 years ago,
yes,
you pardoned him. Okay.
No, I didn't pardon him. It was a commuted sentence. You commuted the sentence,
right, and then he was paroled.
He was paroled after that.
So today, you're being blamed, not blamed for this, but how could you do this? And
well, they're saying it'll hurt your chances if you want to run for president.
Right, and I think the political consequences of all this are immaterial. The focus ought to be on the families of those 4 police officers who will never, ever get their loved one back. And for people to talk about what are the political implications, forget that I'm involved in it. I find that disheartening and disgusting.
Tell us why you did it, though. That's what people want to know.
Well, first of all, let me be very clear, and I've said this in every opportunity I've had. I take responsibility for the commutation that I did 9 years ago, but the commutation before me was not of a cop killer or a child rapist. It was a person who at age 16 was sentenced to 108 years, and that is a disproportionate sentence for anybody in my state who'd ever done a crime like that. And he had already served 11 years of hard time. Now, by the time I see his file, he's 28 years old, and he served 11 years, which is more than most people are sentenced. The board recommends 5-0 for the commutation, and the judge, one of the circuit judges there, strongly recommended. Unlike what the news media and even the local prosecutor said, there were no objections by the prosecutor, the attorney general, the law enforcement, or anyone from anywhere. And so I made the decision to commute his sentence to 47 years. Now, he didn't get off. He didn't just walk out the door. I didn't hand him a key.
He was then paroled.
That made him parole eligible. He was paroled, which he had to meet the criteria for. He had a parole violation a year from then, went back into prison, and would have been in prison until 2015, but the prosecutor failed to file the charges in a timely way, and he got out. And here we are now 9 years later, and this horrible, senseless, savage thing happens, and I feel awful about it. Of course I do. But
do you think... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, well, I was just going to say that I wish, like anything, that I had vision into the future, that I could know that a person whose file I looked at 9 years ago was going to end up doing something like this.
But this would not make you never commute a sentence.
I take my job very seriously. And when I was governor, which I was for 10.5 years, I saw 1,000 to 1,200 case files like this every single year. The easy thing to do, and frankly, the politically expedient thing to do, is to say no to every last one of them. That's the easy thing. And you always cover your rear end if you do that. Because nobody will ever say, oh, you know, you should have let these people out. But the reason we have executive clemency in our system of justice is because there are sentences that are disproportionate. There are times when the justice system failed, and our founding fathers were smart enough to create checks and balances so that no one branch of government was able to act independently of the other two.
But maybe that's why we shouldn't have a death penalty, because there are too many holes in the system.
Let me say that the death penalty is something that, well, no, but it's an important factor. And in a case of a death penalty, which I had to deal with more than any governor in my state's history,
I read that.
I looked at those cases and knew that I could make a lot of decisions that could be reversed by a future governor. That was the only decision I ever made that was irrevocable. The only one.
The death penalty.
I had to be right. I read every page. I looked at autopsy photos. I read every bit of the trial transcript.
DNA?
As much as it existed, there was very little of it at that time. But if there was any reason that there was doubt, then you didn't go forward with it.
And truly, I mean, I think two people that we haven't heard from that should be bearing some responsibility, or at least giving us a voice, are the two judges who let this man off after he raped a 12-year-old girl and set him out for bail. But I do think, having heard this part of the story and understanding that this really, this wasn't the man that you commuted, he wasn't a murderer at the time, and people are saying this will end your chances. I mean, is there a hope that we will see you in 2012 on a ticket?
You know, I mean, honestly, I don't know. And the truth is, it won't make this, well, first of all, we got to get through the 2010. I mean, Barack Obama hasn't even been president for 1 year.
That's right.
I mean, good gosh, let's not hurry this thing. And I really feel like that we've created this non-stop presidential election. It's nonsense, and I think it shouldn't even start being discussed until at least the 2010 elections are over with.
I want to know, do you find it hard, you are a Christian, do you find it hard to be a politician and a Christian? Because a lot of people say you should leave your Bible at the door.
Well, you know, contrary to what a lot of people have alleged, I never made these commutation decisions based on religion. A lot of people said, oh, well, he's a soft heart because, you know, anybody that just says praise Jesus, he'll turn them loose. That's simply not true.
Okay. A lot of times it's the opposite.
Yeah. You know, I think I'm more skeptical of the people who say praise Jesus, let open the door. I really am.
Jesus.
But when people ask me, is it harder? For me, it was easier, and I'll tell you why. Because I didn't have to wake up every day and decide what I was going to believe today. Right. Now, people can disagree with me, and that's fine. I understand that. But I know what I believe, who I am, and I'm okay if somebody else is, you know,
so there's no
very
doubt. There's
uncomfortable with
no doubt in religion. The other part, there was no doubt in the other part. So you're not a doubt person. You don't want to have doubts.
You know, you have doubts. You don't act on your doubts. You then try to process them. And I think that's the important thing. I have told people that if I had this guy's case file in front of me again, exactly like I had it, I would make the exact same decision.
Given that
you know what, sir?
I would.
Mike, you are not Kreskin. You cannot have known what was going to happen. And as I adore the fact that you took responsibility for this, but there is no way. There is no way you could have seen it, thought it might happen. It just, you know, you did what you thought was right. And, you know, sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But you did what you thought was right. And, you know, here, give me a little fist bump.
All right.
I think, you know, you're an incredible man, and we're certainly honored to have you here. Your book, New York Times bestseller, A Simple Christmas, and I love the stories in here. If you could just tell the quick one about what you did with the presents when you were a kid.
My sister and I used to unwrap all of our presents while our parents would be away at work. And we would play with them, and then before they would come home, we would wrap them back up and put them under the tree and act so innocent. Well, we would do this. We did this for years until one Christmas morning, I opened up the football that my parents had from Sears, a J.C. Higgins football, and it was covered in mud. The gig was up. It's hard. I was telling him it was Sears' new way of sort of pre-playing the football, but they didn't buy it. I've never seen a package under the tree for me again. Even to this day, my children, who are all grown in their 20s and 30s, they will not leave something under the tree for me because they know that I will still unwrap it. I will do that. You bet I will.
But you know, the stories in this book are all very personal, you and your wife and your family, and it's a sweet book. For the family, and we thank you. Whatever our political opinions are, you're always welcome. We always like to have you on.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I do think in a downturned economy, people are looking for a way to make Christmas simple. I hope this book will help them to find a way.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you for being on. And by the way, everyone in our audience is going to be getting a copy of A Simple Christmas. So we appreciate you being on. We'll be right back.